Tonight, you'll pull up your blanket, scroll your phone for 40 minutes watching dogs fail to catch frisbees, make 3 pointless trips to the kitchen, and fall asleep. Simple. Comfortable. Now imagine all of that minus the blanket, the phone, the bed, the walls, the kitchen, minus literally everything. And instead, you're sitting in a dark forest, wrapped in animal skin, listening to something large moving in the bushes 20 feet away. That was Tuesday for our ancestors. And here's the question nobody asks. What did they actually do at night?
Half of every single day was complete darkness. Not streetlight through the curtains darkness. Full crushing, hold your hand in front of your face and see nothing darkness. And in that darkness, things hunted. Lions, hyenas, leopards, saber-toothed cats, almost all the major predators of the ancient world are most active at dusk and through the night, which means the moment the sun went down, humans went from hunter to snack option.
So you grouped up. You got somewhere high, somewhere enclosed. Caves were premium real estate, not for comfort, but because a cave has one entrance. You put your back to the rock and you know exactly which direction danger comes from. It was the first security system, and it worked. Groups slept close together, sharing body heat, close enough to hear each other breathe, close enough that someone was always a light sleeper, always half on watch.
Then, around 400,000 years ago, everything changed. Fire. Fire kept you warm, let you cook food. But more than that, it created a boundary, a wall of light between you and the dark. Most predators won't cross into firelight. Not because fire stops them physically, but because it's a disruption to a creature built for hunting in darkness. Sitting by a fire, you were safer through light itself. But fire did something even bigger. Around a fire, you can't be productive. You can't read, write, or send passive-aggressive emails. What you can do is sit and actually be present with the people around you. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups like the Juhoansi and the Hadza found something remarkable. Daytime conversation is practical. Who's hunting where, what needs gathering. Nighttime conversation is almost entirely storytelling, roughly 80% of it, compared to only about 6% during the day. Every evening, for tens of thousands of years, humans sat around fires and narrated the world to each other. The campfire was the cinema. The storyteller was the screen. And without writing, stories at night were the hard drive of human civilization. Fire may have been the single biggest catalyst for language, empathy, and cultural memory in our entire evolutionary history. Now, about sleep, because this part might change
how you feel about waking up at 3 a.m. Most of us assume the normal way to sleep is 8 straight hours in one block. If you wake at 3 a.m. and can't fall back asleep, you assume something's wrong. But that assumption might be historically backwards. A historian spent decades combing through diaries, medical texts, and court records, and found that for most of human history, people didn't sleep in one block. They slept in two, called first sleep and second sleep. You'd go to bed a couple hours after dark, sleep 3 to 4 hours, wake up calmly, stay awake an hour or two, then drift back to sleep until morning. This shows up consistently across cultures and centuries, from Homer to Roman writers to medieval court records. A 16th century French physician even recommended couples conceive children during that waking window since people were naturally more relaxed then. That old phrase, the watch in the night, often just meant ordinary people awake in the dark between the two sleeps. And what did people do during that window? Everything. They prayed, since the quiet hours were considered the most sacred time for connecting with the divine. They thought seriously about their dreams. They had sex. They tended the fire, farmers checked livestock, mothers nursed infants, some people even visited neighbors. It wasn't insomnia. It wasn't a malfunction. It was just the night, existing in its natural phases. The pattern collapsed once artificial lighting let people push bedtime later and later, compressing two sleeps into one. So if you've ever woken at 3 a.m. feeling calm and strangely clear-headed, you're not broken. You're prehistoric. Your body remembered something it was never supposed to forget. Go back further, and it gets even more impressive. Early humans didn't just flop onto bare rock. Archaeological evidence from Border Cave in South Africa shows that as far back as 200,000 years ago, people built deliberate sleeping platforms from layered grasses and leaves. And beneath those layers, researchers found ash deliberately spread.
Ash repels insects, ticks, mites, fleas. Someone woke up itchy, made a connection, tested it, confirmed it worked, and taught it to others. That's the scientific method, running in a prehistoric brain. In colder climates, the response to Ice Age winters was communal sleeping, bodies pressed together as living insulation, pure thermal physics. And certain people in a group were naturally lighter sleepers, giving the whole group rotating sentinels without anyone suffering deliberate night watch. Evolution is efficient like that. And the night wasn't only about survival. For nearly every ancient culture, it was the most spiritually charged time of the entire cycle. The Maya built entire calendar systems and oriented their cities to track celestial movements, especially Venus, which governed decisions about war. Priests conducted rituals in the deep night to make sure the sun completed its journey through the underworld and rose again. In ancient Mesopotamia, a specialized class of priests read the night sky for omens, tracking comets and eclipses to decide when to plant, go to war, or make treaties. The methodology was wrong, but the instinct was pure science. Polynesian navigators did something almost impossible to believe. With no compass, no instruments of any kind, they crossed thousands of miles of open Pacific Ocean in wooden canoes, mostly at night. They memorized the rising and setting positions of hundreds of individual stars, read ocean swells with their bodies, tracked birds flying toward land, and felt the temperature of the water with their hands. The night sky was their navigation system, and in some ways, it was more sophisticated than anything before GPS. Iron Age metalworkers in what's now Zimbabwe deliberately fired their forges at night because daylight washes out the subtle color changes in hot metal that tell you its exact temperature. In darkness, those colors are perfectly clear. At Mohenjo-Daro in ancient Pakistan, one of the first true cities, sanitation workers collected waste specifically at night, functionally running night shifts over 4,000 years ago. In Bronze Age Oman, farmers irrigated crops at night to cut evaporation loss. And in cold northern Europe, Vikings burned fish oil and whale fat lamps to keep working and socializing through winter nights that could last 20 hours. So here's the real picture. We imagine ancient night as something small and scared. People huddled on rocks, waiting passively, and woke to think and pray and connect. When they held each other warm against cold that would otherwise kill them. When priests read the sky for messages from the divine, and navigators crossed oceans using nothing but stars. The night was not empty. It was full. We traded most of it away for electric light, which, to be clear, was worth it. But something was genuinely lost. So next time you wake at 3 a.m., inexplicably alert, don't panic, don't reach for your phone, just lie there for a while. Be awake the way your ancestors were awake. You're not malfunctioning. You're remembering.